right, so what I'm going to do is I'm reading a little bit of this to you so that you can understand it better. Welcome and thank you for joining. I have a story for you. This is a story about me and my brain injury. Now, I literally should not be here, so I ask you please be patient. This is about what I'm trying to do, but have not done yet. This story was originally written by my college networking group, and it's elements to educate them about brain injury, as well as elements about the importance of relationships in overcoming adversity. I used it to better define what I wanted in my future and hopefully give back to my networking group. I wanted to show that traumatic brain injury survivors have value in this world. I want to be part of something bigger than myself.
Yeah, probably.
Towards the end of this presentation, I will describe what I want to do and my ask of you. But before I begin, if you're aware of people or organizations that would benefit from my experience, please let me know. In addition, please share any constructive feedback. But know this, I'm here hoping that my story will in some way mean something to you. I will provide a brief background for about 10 minutes, and then I will have a seat to keep my fatigue at bay and spend about 5 minutes discussing how I overcame this adversity. I will then spend the rest of the remaining time taking questions. You see, I'm so thankful to be here. About 6 years ago, I experienced a traumatic brain injury. This is my attempt to make my own storybook ending. This is about how I have tried to overcome adversity. The biggest challenge I have is getting the opportunity to share my story. So please think how I could be relevant to your organizations. So first, a few facts about brain injury from the U.S. Department of Transportation. Approximately 860 bicyclists died in U.S. roads per year. The average bicyclist killed on U.S. roads is male and 47 years old, my age, me. And not surprisingly, approximately 82% of cyclists were hit by the front of the vehicle. Now imagine, if you will, you are a young professional, I was young, trying to do everything right. You have just been partner at your firm after years of work, years of travel, and years of late nights. You have spent your life focused on relationships. You put on some weight over your career as you've developed a few poor eating habits and decided it's time to change your life, get healthy, and get back to your old self. As such, you began training for a mini triathlon. Unfortunately, it is that training that would put you in the position you are in today. Career's gone, you can't walk well, you're deaf in one ear, your vision is misaligned, you can't speak well, your understanding and relating to others is gone, and you have permanent brain damage. You don't like attention, are now an introvert and constantly looking for meaning and purpose. But you are luckier. You are luckier than anyone will ever know. You get to live a life that no one will ever understand, even as you try to tell them. I know fighting to get back. I know loss. But I also know about the intuitive drive to move forward, not for money or for fame, but for purpose. Looking for that last little bit of what you have to find purpose. Just like many in our society, my accident has resulted in issues with anxiety, balance, cognition, fatigue, hearing, memory, speech, vision. Everything takes immense time and research and then testing, review, and oversight. I can barely walk and talk, not to mention the cognitive memory issues, etc., and fatigue issues. Like many, I lived for the destination, often overlooking the journey. This accident has given me a new perspective, a perspective that only someone that has gone through this accident would have. My ask is that you remember, I am like you, I merely survived. I am normal, I'm just different now. If you were in my shoes, you would have responded the exact same way. We are no different. It all started on the morning of April 10th, 2015, when a life-changing accident occurred. I was training for a mini triathlon when the intersection was undergoing a road construction project. A truck drove into my path. I was compliant with all traffic laws, was wearing a helmet and reflective clothing, and had a headlight on my bicycle. Nonetheless, I collided with the truck's front left quarter panel. As a result of the accident, I suffered a severe traumatic brain injury, open skull fracture, facial bones being shattered, broken ribs, separated shoulder, broken collarbone, broken vertebrae. I was placed on a ventilator. My CT scan showed bleeding inside my brain, resulting in an emergency craniotomy. I was admitted to the ICU at Moore Herman Hospital, where I spent 5 weeks in a coma. While in the ICU, I underwent an 18-hour facial reconstruction surgery. My jaw was wired shut, and I had many medical procedures and minor surgeries. After 5 weeks, I woke up from my coma and was transferred to TIER in the Houston Medical Center, otherwise known as the Institute for Research and Rehabilitation. After my time at TIER, I went to a nerve recovery center in Conroe, Texas, where I began to identify my long-term issues, such as memory, general confusion, intense anxiety. I was finally cleared to walk independently. Initial challenges walking were from the damage to my legs and the motor coordination in the brain, while instability today is a result of permanent damage to my inner ear system. So the question is, what is traumatic brain injury? Well, a TBI. A TBI is caused by a bump, blow, or jolt to the head. Most TBIs that occur every year are commonly called concussions. Now, this diagram depicts the common impairments resulting from a TBI: cognitive, physical or medical, and emotional, psychological. Impairments impact all major areas that can make a TBI patient a danger to an employer or to a nonprofit. Sometimes you may be able to tell if a person has brain injury, but other times you may not. I personally had cognitive and physical and minor emotional. I personally had cognitive and physical impairments and minor emotional impairments. The items impacted for me are highlighted in yellow. But know this, they may now have significant disabilities, but they are uniquely qualified because of those disabilities. But they will have to adapt. To try and overcome my cognitive loss, I went through a cognitive rehabilitation. I was significantly under my pre-accident benchmark in most areas, but there are also areas that were not heavily impacted. I used this to better understand my cognitive condition and develop a fact base for what I was good at or not good at. The areas I scored well in are highlighted in green. The areas I was deficient in are highlighted in red. Not having taken these tests prior to the accident, I did not have a baseline performance. As an approximate, I used my overall GPA from college. So, you probably can't see this, but there's a little green, a lot of red. And it's okay. Now, so the question is, how well did your family cope with this? Well, the accident affected the entire family. Lessons were learned by all. Family found comfort from their neighborhood friends and my parents. They counted their blessings. They stayed focused on returning to some sense of normalcy. We all know that. Just want normal. So, and kindness from others. They expressed themselves by writing, such as my son's letter in class, where he wrote, "My dad's accident taught me that having close friends and family to help you when you're going through a hard time is very important. Having friends and family helped my family out and made my dad's accident easier on myself and my siblings." Let me share with you how I overcame this adversity. I found that strong relationships, embracing a positive edge and having hope helped me deal with this adversity. Now, I'm going to deviate just a little bit. I go back and forth between strong relationships, positive attitude, and hope, and strong relationships and positive attitude and faith. For me, I use hope and faith in the same term. They're extremely important to me. So, in going through this accident, I found faith is extremely important. So first, let's discuss relationships, because I believe relationships are the greatest asset you'll ever have. I love relationships, find saying less is more. That listening and thinking of them means a lot to people. I found comfort from my relationships when dealing with this adversity. My network of relationships is a key part of my reinvention, a key part of my comfort from the loneliness. Based on my research and discussions with friends, I found 3 key pillars for people in building the relationships needed to overcome adversity. You're likable, you're trustworthy, and you're endearing. So what do you mean? Well, let me highlight a few examples. And these are, I think they're very important. These people have integrity, they are secure and authentic. They compete, they don't compete, they look for win-win opportunities. They are resourceful, they are connectors, they network for others. They listen with their body, make eye contact, and smile. So we're in a Zoom world, right? There's tons of Zoom world. You can do this from using Zoom. You can listen with your body, make eye contact and smile. You can do that. And the next one is constantly look to be relevant to others and provide other value. They celebrate other successes and acknowledge their own challenges. They are positive and don't judge other people. And then they are empathetic. Second, let's talk about hope, a belief in overcoming adversity. Again, this is where I use this interchange with faith a lot. Hope became my lifeline. I have been much more aware of my own free will. As such, the concept of hope has become an extremely important part of overcoming adversity. I believe when faced with adversity, your hope or your faith will either become stronger or weaker. You will hope someone somewhere has a plan and is guiding you to do the right thing. Thirdly, a positive attitude makes a difference and makes it easier to deal with adversity. I struggle to be positive every day. I struggle to see a silver lining. I feel like I'm going through a nightmare, like I am witnessing my own funeral. I am cognitive enough to know it's not right. Many times I just want to be left alone to figure it out. So, how do you bring it all together to overcome adversity? Well, I've learned your empathy is the secret sauce. Life is an experiment. We're all in training. A situation does not create greatness. Response to a situation creates greatness. This one is important for a network group. Overcome adversity in facts and use every available resource. You're not the first and you won't be the last. If you love what you're doing, even if you're not good at it, people will notice. Focus on what you love. It's very simple. Don't make it harder than it needs to be. Just keep trying. If what you're doing now isn't working, then try something different. Don't be afraid to ask others for help. We've all been there in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'll say this. Over the last 6 years, I fail every day multiple times. I constantly fail. So, I do think you have to look within yourself to say, why do I continue to move forward? You do. So let me tell you a little bit how I got there. It's very simple. So, all right, so I'm talking about a new purpose. So what will I do now? I remain positive, hopefully. I retain the perseverance I've always had, but I will need help. I want to raise awareness of traumatic brain injury and help others overcome adversity. I'm hoping that others find comfort knowing that everything will be okay. I failed a lot. The only thing I've had some level of success is by sharing my story with people who are going through really, really, really tough things. And then just saying that I'm there. Just telling them, look, I've been through some pretty bad things. You're going to be okay. Everything. You may not know how or why, but you will be okay. I wish I had something insightful to say, but I don't. All I can say is you're so lucky you don't even know it. You have the ability to change lives without asking for anything in return. You can bring in them immense comfort. I found the best thing, one of the only things I can do is tell them it's going to be okay. So my hope is that from our time together today, you got a chance to learn more about traumatic brain injury, the importance of relationships, hope and faith, and being positive and overcoming adversity. If you know where my story could be helpful, please let me know. Okay, so let's do some questions. I'm a little short breath.
Sure. So Andrew, will you tell us just a little bit about your family?
Like my wife and kids? Yep. Okay, so, all right, so, I have a hard time remembering. So, my wife and I met at Texas A&M. We're both accounting undergrads. We met in the accounting class. Go figure. Low sprang over debits and credits.
And how many kids do you have?
Oh, I have 4 kids.
Okay, how old are they?
Oh no.
16.
2 more 17.
Yep.
17. One is 13.
Yep.
And the other one I think is 11.
Right.
Yeah. So I have 4 kids, 3 boys, 1 girl.
Right.
And yes, she can do no wrong.
Right. Of course not.
Natural.
So what were some of your biggest challenges after the accident?
I think when you get in an accident like this, immediately they're focused on just doing what they need to do medically to let you survive. That's their focus. Doctors are focused on breathing,
Right.
having craniotomy. I mean, they're focused on the
Survival.
the really basic things.
Right.
Then you get done with that and you start to say, okay, I'm gonna focus on my cognitive, okay? And I did a ton of cognitive work. I did my own, I took a cognitive course from a trainer here in the Woodlands at Learner Arts. And then I did a ton of my own research and cognitive testing called neurological psychological testing. Nonetheless, it's very different. So let me give you an example. I took an IQ test right after my accident, or starting my recovery. The IQ test says I'm perfectly fine. And for most TBI patients, an IQ test will say they're fine. You do the neuropsychological test, that's where all of a sudden you start to say, oh boy, like for example, I did all of my testing on my my memory. I did a ton of testing and research on my memory.
Right.
And I've lost about, there's two things here. One is there are memories that you capture and retrieve after the accident, and there are memories that you capture and can retrieve before the accident.
Right.
Okay? I found in general, for both material before the accident and after the accident, I've lost about 40%, 30 to 40%.
Right.
So for example, I was a CPA, okay? So I had two degrees from A&M, a degree in accounting and a degree in finance. As part of being a CPA, I did CP, continuing professional education. I went back and I tested myself. Say, okay, how much did I lose? I mean, I worked really hard for that CPA. And how much did I lose? And it came back. I lost about 40% once I did the testing.
So you had medical and then the cognitive.
And then the third is the emotional.
Right.
The psychological. And the thing is this. You saw there's a slide, and I talked about all the physical issues. And then I talked about all the cognitive issues. And there's been a pretty significant loss on both.
Right.
The psychological, the emotional, I've been impacted, but not like some are.
Right.
I mean, some, it's really bad. So like I was personally impacted by anxiety. That's the psychological emotional one.
Right.
One of the reasons, because that was me, I was constantly looking to understand why.
Right.
Constantly looking to understand why. And so for me, the anxiety was associated with memory. The mere fact I could not remember anything, even the basics.
Right.
Like, for example, if somebody came to you and said, you robbed a bank yesterday, you could look and you could remember and you could say, I didn't rob a bank yesterday, I was with so. I know what you're talking about. You could defend yourself. I can't do that. If somebody says, you robbed a bank yesterday, the only way I know whether or not that's true or not is I look around and go, it's not a jail cell, I must be good. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if they said, you got into an accident yesterday, I'm like, well, I feel okay and I'm not in the hospital, so I must be okay. But I don't remember at all.
So do your injuries still hurt?
Okay, I said that I had a separated shoulders and this still hurt. Those affect sleeping. A fractured collarbone, that still hurts. I have a herniated disc, that still hurts. I had like fractured vertebrae and those still hurt. So the answer is yes.
Right.
And here's the crazy thing. I really can't feel the left of my side of the face. Because when I had my accident, there was, you remember there was a part where I said they wired my jaw back together. Okay. All the nerves on the left side of the face got severed. So that's why I can't feel anything. It started to come back slowly but surely, but I keep feeling. That's also why, if you look at me in most pictures, my lips droop a little bit, and that's what happened.
And at night you sleep in a recliner, is that right?
Yeah, I do. I sleep in. Yep, and this is interesting. So, okay, let's talk about. Okay, the brain is very, very interesting. One of the issues that I constantly found out that I had was around senses. So, for example, Your brain is responsible for regulating your temperature in your body, right? If it gets too hot, you automatically perspire. If you get too cold, you shiver to warm up, right? Okay. My brain does not do that like at all. I am constantly cold. So regardless, it could be burning up outside. Yeah, I'm wearing something warm.
Right. So how about experiencing a fresh baked cookie?
Okay, so, all right, so this is interesting. So, and this is a combination of things. Some of it is senses, some of it is memory. So, for example, if you remember a chocolate chip cookie, a fresh baked cookie, okay, you have memories of that, I'm assuming, and they're still good memories, and things like, you remember what it tastes like, you remember what it smells like, right? All senses. You remember what it feels like, texture, all senses. Now, here's the interesting, when you have brain injury, all your senses become separated. So in other words, if somebody said, Andrew, describe a fresh baked cookie, I'd be like, well, I don't know, I don't remember. My senses don't talk to each other. So that's the weird thing. The taste and smell, they don't talk together. So yeah, so you can get individual ones, but they don't talk together. So you do not get the full effect of a cookie. Let me give you another example. If you have ever smelled a scratch and smell sticker, okay? Now, let's say you've got one for a grape, okay? And you smell it and you're like, well, yeah, it smells like a grape, but it kind of smells chemically. Okay, that's what it's like for people with brain injury. Their senses don't work the same. Things smell or they taste something, but it's not, it doesn't taste right, it doesn't smell right.
So
like, I used to be high, I used to salt my food a lot. I don't salt my food at all.
So a couple more questions. What is it like to go to the grocery store?
Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, so there are a couple of things. I have a handicap tag. I park up front because I literally do not remember where I parked. I could like step out, and there are plenty of times I've done this. I will remember where I parked, and I'll just walk around hitting the security alarm, hoping that my car beeps. So that's a side example on a grocery store. But going to a grocery store is actually very claustrophobic for me. So for example, there's a couple of issues. One has to do with memory, one has to do with the sense of claustrophobia. So I go into a grocery store. First off, I have my grocery list on my phone. My wife is texting me it, and she's put pictures. If I go in and I don't have that, I forget why I'm there. I'm like, well, what the heck now? So let's say I'm like, I need to get bread. So I get bread. And then I'm like, okay, well, first off, getting there so I finally remember I'm supposed to get bread. Where the heck is bread? I don't remember. So I go and ask somebody. I've gotten pretty good at asking people, even pretty obvious things. And then I say, okay, tell me where bread is. They go, oh, that's aisle 4. I'm like, okay. I go, I'm gonna go for aisle 4. And then I go and I look and I get to aisle 4 and then I'm like, what do I need again? I need bread. So I look at my text, right? Apparently I need white wheat bread. So now I have to, I get confused by all the product. And so then I have to go, oh my gosh, no. And so I literally, you will see me walking up and down an aisle 3, 4, 5 times looking for something that looks like my text. Anything looks like my, And then they don't have it. So I call my wife. I say, okay, they don't have it. And she goes, are you sure? It says that they've got 5 in stock. I'm like, clearly I can't find it.
Yeah.
Wait, there it is.
Yeah, right.
So I do that, and then I look and I go, okay, I need to find the next thing. What is the next thing? I go back to my phone. I look in it. I go, oh, I need this, and then I go. I start again. I go and I ask somebody. I get lost. I forget. I go to my phone and I search based off picture, and I get lost. And then I finally, it takes me 2 or 3 hours, I finally get done with my shopping list of 15 items.
So if you're having a really bad day, what do you do?
Okay. All of you are, I'm assuming, many of you have heard that saying that says, if you have a bad day, sleep on it. That's what I do. I sleep on it. And the reason being is I know when I'm having a bad day, it's because of 2 things. It's either because of sleep or because of food. One of the 2, I know. So, and what I find, if I go take a nap, by the time I'm done with that, I remember why is that. Right? There we go. Problem solved.
Right. So the final question, right, is if you had 1 day left to live, what would you do?
Okay, believe it or not, and this has taken me so long to figure it out. And so, move back to this. In today's start, it's raising the awareness of TBI, is to educate, right? And help others overcome adversity. I can do that. I can do those 2 things. I try things not necessarily well, but I can do those. So that's what I go back to.
Thank you. We can open it up to the group. Alex, do you want to get started with questions?
Yeah, like, do you take any supplements to enhance your cognitive abilities?
I'm sorry, I can't.
Do you take any supplements to enhance your cognitive abilities?
I don't take them right now. I used to take a ton of fish oil. A ton. I mean, I used to take fish oil. Basically, I tried to get off all medication because I don't like medicine. It's a principle. But fish oil, at least all the research done, shows that it helps with the brain. So I use fish oil pretty consistently every day. Every morning, wake up, do my cognitive apps, and then take my fish oil. So.
Anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask? Randy?
I commend you on all the obstacles that you've overcome. It's amazing, and the attitude that you have. It's fabulous. Is there one single thing that you work hardest on every day, maybe at the beginning of the day, to get yourself started, to keep yourself in the frame of mind that you want to do? I mean, something that you absolutely can't do without doing?
You know, for a while there, with my neuropsychological apps, trying to understand, and that's the biggest thing, is constantly trying to understand. I do that today, but now for different things. Now it's all, a lot of this political stuff, constantly, and then trying to read through it all, read through the noise, and just constantly looking for what is actually happening. Tell me the truth, coronavirus. I mean, there's a ton of information out there. Some of it is good, some of it is bad. Constantly searching and trying to understand what was actually happening out there. I've got a family that I'm concerned about, or that I could be concerned about. I choose not to be, based on everything I've read. I've looked at all the trends. I was telling somebody else, I really don't worry about coronavirus. I kind of got bigger things to deal with. It's kind of small stuff. So I'm like, and I have seen by others around me. I heard it termed by somebody as being a fear pandemic. And I have absolutely seen that fear take over and lock somebody up to where they don't do anything. And the problem is that you really have to look at that. You have to look at the information to really make that decision for yourself. You know, if you're high risk, is there something to be worried about or not? I choose not to.
Let's do one or two more questions. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
I think I saw that you said you were the luckiest person.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. I want to know. I mean, you have an amazing story, an amazing family and friends. What do you contribute to being the luckiest person in the world?
I'm alive. I mean, and I'll be the first one to tell you. There are many days I do not feel lucky at all. That's true. I look and here's the thing. When I wake up in the morning and I hurt, and all of a sudden I go into my own shock of like, yeah, you really have brain injury. Yeah, you really do hurt. None of this you're not over-exaggerating any of this. So there are plenty of days I do not feel positive at all. And I do have to remind myself, you're alive. And here's the thing. I'll get back to this. And I go back to, what is it that I can do, right? What is it that I can do? Well, I can't educate the general public about traumatic brain injury. I can't do that. I can go talk to people that are going through truly a traumatic event in their life and at least listen to them, at least share my story, and at least let them know that I said to myself, it's going to be okay. I can't do that. And I think they comfort from that. So it's those little things. They're not major at all. They're little things, but they do make a difference, at least for me.
Yeah. Okay, we have one more question. Andy, I think I saw your hand up.
Andy, thank you so much. What you're doing is inspiring. It's making it
As I ask you, yeah.
so just thank you for talking about it. I did have a question. Can you talk about how your relationship with your family and your children has changed? You know, being a dad and 3 years ago. How has that changed? How has that made you a different challenge?
You know, I would say that probably you have to ask them. I would say that I am not the father that they thought that I was. I know that. I'm not relevant to them at all. I can't play with them. I used to water ski as a kid. I used to sail as a kid. I used to scuba dive as a kid. I can't do any of that. Just going for a walk on the street is high risk for me. The reason being is this. If anything happened that resulted in me falling and hitting my head and requiring anesthesia, it's high risk for me. Anesthesia, very small, it will affect your brain cells. And I don't have that many brain cells left. So I cannot interact with them the way that I used to. Now, I will say this. Some of it, it's a good question. Some of it is, some of it is my own perception of the value I bring to them. They have not expressed anything at all to me. It's me expressing or me not believing in myself. Not believing I can bring them back. That is huge. Now, let me say this also. There is people with brain injury, there, for right or wrong, there is a stigma about people with brain injury. People won't say much, and it's just not discussed. For all those reasons that I highlighted, I talked about all those issues that feel like those are all real. And yes, they are real, but so you have two things. One thing is you have a stigma that the public puts on you, and you have a stigma that you put on yourself. I've experienced both. When it comes to my kids, it's typically the stigma I put on myself. I just feel like I'm not the dad I could be. I can't play with them long days. I can't.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your time today and for sharing your beautiful story with everybody and being so vulnerable and strong. We really appreciate you.
Okay.
Thank you.